Okay, y'all are live and good to go.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, it's 6:01 and you have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Sherry. And I'd like to thank everybody for being with us this evening for the July 15th, 2020 Planning and Zoning meeting for the city of Lake Worth Beach. Let's waive the Pledge of Allegiance if we can. It being this is the month of July, we all should be good patriots, so we can skip that at tonight's meeting. And I'm guessing there's no additions or deletions, or I'm guessing, or hoping, a reordering of anything. Is that correct, Sherry?
That's correct. Let's call the roll just to make it perfect for the record. Even though I know we have a quorum. Greg Rice.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, please call roll for the record, please, Sherry.
Okay. Greg Rice.
Here.
Anthony Murata.
Here.
Laura Starr.
Here.
Michael Glazer.
Here.
And Daniel Tanner. You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Thank you very much. First point of business is to approve the minutes from the last meeting, June's meeting, June 17th. Anybody have a chance to peruse those and check them for?
I did. I move to approve.
We got a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Do we have a second to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
I'll second it. I didn't get included in the roll call.
Oh, you didn't? I didn't hear you. That's right.
I didn't think I heard his name.
Sherry, did you hear that?
Who did I miss?
Mark.
Oh, I
You
thought
missed Mark.
I went straight over Mark. I'm sorry. I apologize, Mark. Mark.
Okay, well, I'm here. And
You're here.
I second Anthony's motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, that's
Nice
unanimous. It
having
sounds
you,
good.
unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay, starts the fun point of the evening. We're gonna swear in, or Sherry's gonna swear in anybody that's gonna be appearing tonight before this commission. Would like you to stand wherever you're at around the world, raise your right hand and let Sherry swear you in.
Okay, so let me promote some of our people. I'm going to, I'm not familiar with, I know Brian Seymour. I'm going to promote
Sherry,
him.
you'll need to go ahead and promote everybody that's now an attendee.
Okay, regardless. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, give me one moment to promote. Almost there. One moment. Okay, there we are. So everybody unmute and turn on your video. Everyone who's giving testimony or plans on giving testimony.
But I can't see us. Can you see us?
I can see everyone except for actually have a board member present. Please note Danny Tanner present at 6:04. I think I have everyone.
See this picture. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go with it. I think I've got everyone. Everybody raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes.
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 Thank you.
Usually when we talk.
All right, give me one moment.
Let me know when you're ready, Sherry.
Okay, I'm gonna move people back while the presentation is ongoing.
Take your time.
No, I'm not gonna try and take my time though, but.
Well, then hurry up.
There we go. And I think we have it. Yes.
Thank you.
You're good.
Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, we have, in the backup packet was the proof of publication for this evening's meeting, both in the Palm Beach Post and Lake Worth Herald. We have no withdrawals, postponements, or reshuffling, so let's start with, first of all, any board disclosures that anybody on the board have any conversations, contact by either applicant or their representatives for tonight's meeting? Let's start one
No.
at a time. Let's go through the regs.
Can
I
you
have
do it?
not. I have
Greg?
not.
Okay. Anthony,
I have not.
Mark? Mark,
No.
no? Laura? Unmute, please. That's okay.
No.
Okay. Michael?
I spoke with Fred Schmidt today.
Okay. Okay, there you have it.
Yes, Danny?
Danny,
Sarah?
is he still here with us?
You said you had him
Oh,
coming in
here he
late.
is. Hold on. Okay. Let me move him back. I think I threw him back over. Danny,
Don't take it personal, Danny.
don't take it personally.
No disclosures. Yeah,
Okay.
for some reason, when I log in, I'm not in the same meeting. I'm like a different person.
A different person. Okay,
Well, it's me, but I'm unable to speak or to see myself. So maybe I come in as like a guest.
okay. So we have you over on the panelist side now. So let's see what,
Thank you.
okay. And no disclosures, okay? That's it.
Thank you all. Start off this evening's meeting with PCB project number 20-005-000003. I believe that's enough zeros. Request by Ann Christine Carey of Keith on behalf of 1901 19th Avenue LLC for consideration of a major site plan, conditional use and variance to construct a vehicle fueling and charging station, single destination retail and restaurant use at 1900 10th Avenue North with a mixed use West MU West zoning district. The subject property control number 38-43-44-21-02-005-0030. Staff, take it away.
Mr. Chair, can I say
Yes.
something very quickly?
Yes, you can.
For the record, we have, in addition to the applicant, two different affected parties. We have one property owner with two owners, Dan Hyatt and Fred Schmidt, and we have a second one, which is being represented, I think it's 1920 10th Avenue LLC. We emailed you correspondence from their attorney, who asked that their letter be made a part of the record, which they can do themselves when the appropriate time comes. But I just wanted to bring to your attention that they requested that this case be postponed. And they requested that we postpone it or the applicant would continue it. We have decided not to do that. The applicant does not want to do that. So they are here to make their presentation. They're not waiving any of their rights, which is fine, but I wanted to just put it on the record before we started that you have been emailed correspondence. I don't know if you received it or if you had an opportunity to read it, but it will be made a part of the record.
That was the 11th hour email we got this afternoon.
That is correct. We received an 11th hour letter, so.
Right. Okay, thank you.
11th hour information.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Okay. Andrew, are you going to take this?
Yes, let me get it. Hold on. All right, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Fantastic. All right, good evening. For the record, this is Andrew Meyer, Senior Community Planner, and I will be presenting new business item A, consideration of a request by Anne Christine Carey of Keith on behalf of 1900 10th Avenue LLC for consideration of a major site plan, conditional use, and variance to construct vehicle fueling charging station, single destination retail, and restaurant uses at 1900 10th Avenue North within the mixed use West zoning district. The owner, 1900 10th Avenue North or 10th Avenue LLC, is requesting to build a 7-Eleven retail store with quick service restaurant and 14 fuel pumps. As such, the owner is requesting the following approvals: a major site plan for a 4,720 square foot retail and restaurant building and a 3,520 square foot canopy structure, a conditional use to establish vehicle fueling / charging station, single destination retail and restaurant uses, and a variance of 8 feet from the maximum front setback regulations outlined in section 23.3-18 of 8 feet for a total front setback of 40 feet from 10th Avenue North. The subject site is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of 10th Avenue North and Barnett Drive, as can be seen on the left. And on the right, you'll see that it is located within the mixed use West zoning district and is adjacent to the Industrial Park of Commerce zoning district. Land Development Regulations section 23.3-18 states that the mixed use West district is intended to provide for the establishment and expansion of a broad range of office and commercial uses, including moderate intensity and higher intensity commercial, hotel, motel, and medium density multiple family residential development along the city's western thoroughfares. The establishment of certain uses is subject to conditional use review to ensure they will not create excessive problems for through traffic or have a negative impact on nearby residential areas or the commercial viability of their neighbors. The district implements in part the mixed use land use category of the Lake Worth Comprehensive Plan. Section 23.3-18 also goes on to state that a provision is made for the establishment of high intensity commercial and retail uses, which the proposed project is. 1900 10th Avenue North currently exists as a parking lot, which was previously used as a rental car lot for Wayne Acres Ford Rent-A-Car. The parking lot virtually covers the entire parcel and offers little to no landscaping. On the left is a photo of the current parking lot standing on Barnett Drive and looking west, and on the right is a photo looking northwest. In both photos, you'll see the parking lot as well as a small building and a non-conforming pole sign. The proposed 7-Eleven consists of a 4,730 square foot retail and restaurant building, as well as a 3,520 square foot fueling canopy structure, which shelters 14 fuel pumps. The retail and restaurant building will consist of 7-Eleven's retail offerings, as well as a Laredo Taco quick service style restaurant counter with seating. The fuel pumps are located towards the front of the property with pedestrian circulation routed away from the fuel canopy. The parking lot is located towards the rear of the property in alignment with the city's major thoroughfare design guidelines. The proposed 7-Eleven has also provided a landscape plan which exceeds the landscaping currently found on the site. The landscape plan provides for a landscape buffer along the perimeter of the site and trees along 10th Avenue North that are in conformance with the city's major thoroughfare design guidelines. The retail and restaurant building meets the regulations outlined in the major thoroughfare design guidelines, providing for awnings for shelter from weather and fenestration to allow interior activity to be seen from the exterior. The applicant has been requested to provide a color other than beige to align more closely with the aesthetic of Lake Worth Beach. The table outlines the future land use, zoning districts, and current uses of the properties that surround the subject site. Based on staff's analysis, the proposed uses are compatible with the surrounding uses. Going into staff's analysis, the proposal is found to be consistent with policy 1.1.1.6 of the city's comprehensive plan and pillars A4 or 4A, 4D, and 4E of the city's strategic plan. The site plan was found to be consistent with the qualitative development standards section of the land development regulations. The site plan is organized in an efficient manner, provides additional landscaping and impervious area than what already exists on the site, and provides for safe circulation of pedestrians and vehicles on site. The site plan was also found to be consistent with the community appearance criteria section of the land development regulations. The buildings are designed at a scale and style that matches that of the surrounding area and provides landscaping and a site plan design in alignment with the major thoroughfare design guidelines. The variance application was found to be consistent with the required findings for variance approval. The fuel canopy requires two-way vehicular access on all sides in order to ensure the safe and orderly circulation of vehicular traffic on site, and the LDRs require a landscape buffer. Both provisions force the setback of the fuel canopy beyond the maximum building setback line. The proposed conditional use was found to be consistent with the design and performance standards for vehicle filling stations section of the land development regulations. The proposed fueling station component meets the standards for vehicle filling stations, including minimum lot size, pump island setbacks, overhead canopies, curb cuts, and more. The proposed conditional use was also found to be consistent with the general findings to harmony with the LDRs and protection of public interest section of the land development regulations. The proposed uses are the types and intensity of uses currently anticipated within the mixed-use West zoning district and future land use designations, and provides activity on a currently unused parcel of land. The proposed conditional use was also found to be generally consistent with the specific standards for all conditional uses. Staff has requested that the applicant obtain a TPS letter from the Palm Beach County Traffic Division. The applicant has obtained a TPS initial comment letter, which outlines several requirements, including extending the southbound left turn lane storage length on Barnett Drive at 10th Avenue North, and configuring Barnett Drive ingress and egress as a right in, right out only movement to eliminate a left turn from Barnett Drive. Should the county require any additional improvements, the applicant will be required to bring the project back through a site plan amendment process. In addition, subsection 2 states that the proposed conditional use will not result in a significantly greater amount of through traffic on local streets than would result from a development permitted by right, and is appropriately located with respect to collector and arterial streets. The applicant's traffic study states that the proposed development will generate 1,367 net daily trips. However, staff believes that the majority of these trips will be from existing traffic traveling along 10th Avenue North. However, in order to limit this, the project will be limited to right in, right out movements off of Barnett Drive to limit the impact on local roads. In order to meet the requirement of the right in, right out configuration on the Barnett Drive ingress egress requested by the Palm Beach County Traffic Division, Water and Sewer Condition 2B has been revised and will be read into the record to be included as part of the conditions of approval. The condition shall be read as the following. The vehicular access from Barnett Drive shall permit only right in, right out access to and from the site for customer and employee traffic, excluding fuel delivery, which can use the driveway for ingress. The improvements limiting such movement shall be approved by the Lake Worth Beach City Engineer, including striping and signage. In addition, the design and performance standards for vehicle filling stations forbid the outdoor display of merchandise. Therefore, the following condition will be read into the record to be included as part of the conditions of approval. There shall be no outdoor display of any kind of merchandise. Staff recommends that the board recommend approval of the major site plan, conditional use, and variance request as conditioned to the City Commission. The conditions of approval are outlined on pages 13 and 14 of the staff report. If you'd like to go over any of them, I have those slides available. That concludes my presentation. The applicant is also here if you wish to ask any questions, and the applicant also has a presentation that they will be presenting to you. Thank you.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Andrew.
Chairman, I just want to clarify something that Andrew said. This item is a final decision before you. It will not be going to the City Commission. I may have misunderstood what Andrew said, but this is a final decision as a quasi-judicial hearing by you as a Planning and Zoning Board for all of these requests. It's not a recommendation to the City Commission.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, do we want to wait for board questions to Andrew before the applicant makes their presentation? Andrew?
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend that we go forward with the applicant's presentation and then ask questions to both staff and the applicant.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. Okay, who's up first then from the applicant's batting lineup? Hello?
Josh, I believe you're presenting on the applicants.
And also Josh, Brian Seymour has his hand up as wanting to be placed into it as a panelist as well.
Okay, I think they're both over there now. I put Josh and Brian Seymour. I'm not, like I said, I'm not familiar with the other attendees. Mr. Seymour, if you could unmute.
Oh, thank you very much. I apologize.
Or any of the other, do you have anyone else that's going to speak besides you and Mr. Long?
We have folks who would be able to answer questions. All of our consultants are here, our traffic engineers, our civils, our client is on. We can either add them all now, or if there are specific questions, we can let you know who would answer. However you'd like to do that.
Okay, so let's just go like we are for now, if that's okay with everyone, and then just let us know if they need to speak and we'll move them over.
Thank you very much. We'll do that.
Hey, Brian, 1 second.
Yes, sir.
As everybody that might answer a question, did they get sworn in at the beginning?
Yes, sir. I did see them all on the screen.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So again, Brian Seymour, we're here on behalf of 7-Eleven, and there are a couple things I just want to clarify tonight. The applicant is the property owner here. 7-Eleven as the lessee is the ultimate operator, and we do represent 7-Eleven. What you're going to see tonight is that 7-Eleven. I wanted to, there was a comment made in one of Mr. Baird's emails today about a good developer working with his neighbors. 7-Eleven has always worked with its neighbors and has always worked with the community. And certainly had Mr. Baird's client reached out to either Mr. Waters or Mr. Mayor or to us, we would have happily sat down and spoken with him. But it is not an opportunity to just say, I'm going to wait until the day of the meeting, show up and say, hey, let's postpone everything for a second time so that this can go forward. This was properly noticed. This was in the newspaper. The mailers were sent. Everything was consistent with the statute. We're all here to be cross-examined if necessary. If there's questions either from you or from one of the interveners, we're happy to answer those questions. But this is not a circumstance where we're not willing to work with. We were just not given the opportunity to work with. This is a commercial area. This is not residential. Had it been a residential area, we would have had multiple neighbor meetings as we've had throughout the state of Florida on the projects that we've done. 7-Eleven is a very community-minded organization, and they do care about their neighbors and the communities in which they operate. So as I mentioned, we do have all of our consultants, our expert witnesses here. If there are questions, they stand ready for cross-examination on any issues. Mr. Long is going to present the application for us in an opportunity to try to keep this short, at least somewhat. And he is relying on those experts who are here and online. Mr. Long is an AICP, a planner with my law firm. He is not a lawyer, but is an expert in planning and development and has testified numerous times in quasi-judicial process. So with that, what I'd like to do, Josh, turn it over to you for the presentation, and then we'll stand ready with any questions you have or any of either of the interveners.
Excellent. Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. And I have been sworn in for the record. I believe Andrew has my presentation up and he will be changing the slides for me. So when I say click, Andrew, please go next to the next slide. So real quickly, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present this project for you tonight. As Brian mentioned, Gunster's represented 7-Eleven throughout Florida through 7-Eleven's new nationwide campaign to bring a brand new model of store to communities. And that's exactly what you have here. When you see the elevations and the other site elements that I'm going to present, you'll understand that this is really something unique and different, and not the 7-Eleven that you and I grew up with. It's a completely different business model. The entire industry has changed over the last decade. 7-Eleven, as a leader in this industry, recognized that and has gone on a campaign to bring a new model of store to communities. And that's what you have here. Next slide. So real quickly, and once again, I'm gonna say Andrew did a great job. He covered everything. So a lot of these things I'll just go through quickly to save time. The 3 applications we do have in front of you. Next slide. Real quick, the summary, the site is currently vacant. It's about 1.24 acres. It is a vacant parking lot. We do have the mixed use west zoning. And as Andrew said, the project is a single destination retail with a approximately 4,500 square foot retail with a little over 200 square foot of restaurant, and also a fueling canopy to provide vehicle fueling charging stations for 14 fueling positions. Next slide. So I believe everybody's familiar with the site on 10th Avenue North. Next slide. This is a close-up of the site. And one thing that I do want to point out here is the amount of surface parking. There are about 85 truck parking spaces on this lot. It's only 1.25 acres. And there is essentially no landscaping, no pervious area, no shade trees, nothing on the corner of any significance to really improve the area or the neighborhood. What you have is just a now vacant parking lot that does nothing but increases the city's heat island effect. You can also see the fence line along 10th Avenue. This is a unique setup for a property. It is not a typical rectangle. The curvature of 10th Avenue creates unique design issues when creating a lot. Typically lots are square or rectangle in size with straight lines and right angles. This property does not have that luxury of having a right angle at the corner of Barnett and 10th Avenue. But we have done a very good job with our staff, with our site plan in addressing this unique configuration, which I'll get into later. Next slide. So as you can see, this is nothing but a parking lot, complete asphalt all the way around. Next slide. With a vacant, 1-story open bay building, no shade trees on the site at all. A couple very small accent palms is all you have. Next slide. Next slide. So in presenting this application and the building that we're presenting, I think it's very important to look at the existing buildings in the area, the existing architecture that's presented along this portion of 10th Avenue and in Barnett. And the area is commercial and industrial and has the typical commercial industrial type designs that were typical of the 80s and 90s when most of these buildings were constructed. Next slide. As you can see, this is just a standard office building. This is to the west of us. Next slide. And then industrial / retail bays along the east side. Next slide. So in our analysis, just a summary, some of the key issues I want to go through. This project will increase the tax value of the property, increasing the city's tax base. The proposed conditional uses are allowed and appropriate at this location. Mixed use west zoning allows the highest intensity of uses. The proposal does comply with all the city standards and staff has agreed with that. The project will provide enhanced architecture and landscaping, which I'll get into in a second, and provides improved traffic circulation, which I will go over as well. The project will provide multiple jobs of diverse skill sets and will support the adjacent Lake Worth Park of Commerce and other businesses in the area. Next slide. So real quick, this is the site plan, and I picked this particular site plan because I think it covers a lot of the key elements that are very important to this site. First, as you can see, the hatched area, This shows the pervious area of the site, which we're providing 35%. And if you recall the images that we showed earlier, the site hardly has any pervious area right now. So we're going to dramatically increase the amount of water that's going to be able to circulate and flow through the earth. And also we're taking away a significant amount of the existing parking spaces so we can reduce the heat island effect. You can also see in the far bottom right corner, this is the fueling truck. And because of the use of this particular site, a fueling truck is very important to the project, and getting the turning radius for a fueling truck is one of the most important aspects of the plan. So the way that the fueling truck circulates is it will come in on Barnett Drive, it'll circulate, it'll stop, and it'll go out on 10th Avenue. And as you can also see on this site, on this particular image, you can see the property line as it curves around and almost becomes a round type property line between Barnett and 10th Avenue, which creates some unique aspects, particularly the variance that we've requested. The variance that we've requested is about 8 feet from your standard. Your regulations require that the buildings be placed between 20 and 32 feet. We've had to place our canopy building 40 feet, and that's simply because we don't have a right angle, a straight property line to go from. And also the fuel truck and vehicles fueling at this particular station need to circulate around the fuel canopy, which are unique aspects to this particular site and justify the variance request. We do have activity adjacent to the street. There are no parking spaces between the fuel canopy and the street. So we do meet the intent of why the setback regulations were established with those parameters. So we do comply with those standards for the variance. Also, I want to point out that we are required to put a deceleration lane off of 10th Avenue, and we have a brand new entrance that we're providing on 10th Avenue, which is where the traffic, the majority of the traffic will come and exit the site. I'll get into the traffic circulation next. Next slide. So as you can see, this is the existing property line. I'm sorry, this is the existing curb line. This is where the existing curb line is today for 10th Avenue. Next. And this will be the new curb line. So we are going to add this deceleration lane, which will allow people that are coming off 10th Avenue, coming off the overpass bridge, to slow down off of the street and prepare to turn into the actual site. Next slide. Another very important aspect of this application is how we're dealing with Barnett Drive. So Barnett Drive is going to be limited to a right-bound, southbound turn-in and a right-out, southbound exit. So you can see the arrows, and then we also have agreed to put a painted peanut or island and signage along Barnett Drive, which make it clear that people that are coming to the site, the drive entrance to the 7-Eleven Laredo Taco is not allowed from Barnett, that the only vehicle that's allowed to enter on Barnett is the fueling vehicle, which is required for the large turning radiuses. Next slide. So I just wanted to overlay on the actual aerial, the previous slide, to give you a reality of where the existing curb is and where the new curb lines are going to be, where the new entrance is going to be in relation to actually how the site is built. That's what this slide shows you. It shows you the location. As you can see, there's no entrance on 10th Avenue North right now. We're going to be providing that, which is a huge increase to the site circulation and traffic patterns for this particular site. We'll also be adding pedestrian connection points. So there'll be sidewalks from Barnett and from 10th Avenue into the site, which does not exist today. So that'll greatly enhance pedestrian safety and circulation for the site. Next slide. So this is the landscape buffer that exists today on 10th Avenue. As you can see, a couple small shrubs, some very, very tiny, almost dead palm trees. And so we are going to greatly enhance what's there today. As you may recall from the previous images, there are essentially no shade trees on this site. With this application, we're going to go from no shade trees to 43 trees, 23 canopy trees and 17 medium trees, which is a drastic improvement to the aesthetics of this area. and this particular corner and the neighborhood. Next slide. So here's an image of our landscape plan on 10th Avenue North. Next slide. And I wanted to show you the types of trees that we're providing here. So we do have gumbo limbo. We've got the queen crepe myrtle, which is a large crepe myrtle with flowers, and we do have the Japanese blueberry. So as you can see, these are the trees that are going to be located. As you can see the little circles on the black and white. These are the trees that are going to be along 10th Avenue North, which is a drastic improvement to what you see today on the left slide of the left part of your slide there. Next slide. Also want to continue around. As you can see, you've got a sidewalk right next to Barnett Avenue with hardly any landscaping at all. Next slide. So this will be drastically improved with landscape area, trees, and shrubs and flowering shrubs and other ground covers along this landscape area. Next slide. And once again, the types of trees, Simpson stopper, Japanese blueberry, and crepe myrtle along this area again, once again, beautifying the entrance to Barnett Drive. Next slide. So this is our architecture. And as you can see, there are 3 different images here. So you may recall from Andy's presentation, one of the conditions of approval was to work on the color of the building to be more in line with the traditional colors that the City of Lake Worth Beach is actually trying to pursue right now for all new developments and redevelopments. So the image on the top is the one that we presented, which caused the city to ask us to work on the colors. So what you have are the 2 bottom images there. We've shown you some variations with using some different colors and some different patterns. They show a lighter mixture, a gray metal seam roof. One of the middle image, we use like a light blue hardy plank. And then the bottom image would be more of a true beachy, blue overall theme. I do want to say that the bottom image would be one that is not typical with 7-Eleven, and we would have to get approval from corporate to present that complete blue color scheme. But we did want to provide you with different variations to be in line with what staff had requested. We also do want to, while you're looking at these architectural elevations, we do comply with the major thoroughfare guidelines, commercial design standards. We do have the raised seam metal roofs. You can see, or when you look at the building closely, you can see the raised, the stucco scored panels. We do have parapets and cornices. All the equipment, all the mechanical equipment is completely shielded around the building. We do provide ground level finish transitions around the perimeter of the building. And the architectural tower features break up the form and creates visual interest. Next slide. So as Andrew had mentioned, staff does agree that we have complied with the required standards for our 3 applications. The future land use designation is mixed use west, and we do comply with policy 1.16 allows for mixture of commercial and retail uses. We do comply with several of the different pillars of your strategic plan. Next slide. And also we do comply with the other important standards for the major site plan, the qualitative design standards, the community appearance standards, and also the conditional use standards. Specifically, some of the conditional use standards, those pertaining to the use not generating traffic volumes or movements, which will result in a significantly adverse impact or reduce the level of service provided on any street that would result from development of anything by right. And there are other uses that would generate traffic beyond the traffic generated from this proposal. So the project is in harmony with all the land development regulations. Next slide. And does meet all the conditional use standards and the variance standards as described from the previous slides. Next slide. And as you can see, this is the variance that we're requesting, just 8 feet. And I went into the details and the justification for that in the previous slides. Next slide. And so our major site plan conditional use and variance are consistent with all the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, land development regulation criterion. Staff has reviewed the application materials and agrees that our applications comply with all the application criterion. We do agree with all the proposed conditions of approval and the one as modified and presented to you at the beginning of Andrew's presentation. With that, we do suggest that staff recommends our approval of our 3 applications with conditions. Next slide. And that's what I just said. All right, next slide. Thank you. And our team is here for any questions.
Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen of the board, who has first question?
Hold on, before we do that, do we want to go ahead and take the affected parties? Because they have standing, they've shown standing to make a presentation if they want to, or they can wait and just they can also cross-examine when you're ready for them to do that.
Well, could we ask them if they would like at this time to get up and make a presentation?
I think that's what we should ask them, if they want to make a presentation.
I'm asking. Hello?
You're on mute.
No, I'm not on mute.
Oh, it's Fred's on mute.
Okay, we're off mute.
We got it now, guys?
Hey, guys.
You got us?
Yeah.
Okay,
You're fine.
so
Go ahead.
we'll wait. We'll wait to hear the board's question or your questions, and then we'll comment after that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the board, who has questions?
Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Did we hear from the other affected parties? Did they say they wanted to wait as well?
Oh, yeah, we don't have the presentation. As we said on the letter that we sent today, that we requested more time, that it has not been agreed on. So we haven't had the time to do a presentation. We're just here to express our concerns.
Okay, thank you. You're on mute, Mr. Rice.
I said, thank you, Pam.
No.
Who on the board has the first question? I have a question myself, but I would like to show preference to any of the board members.
I have one.
Good, thank you.
On the other side of 10th, we had a problem with traffic. I know that they have submitted a traffic report, and isn't there a school on Barnett? This runs right into a school, and don't they generate traffic in the morning and the afternoon? Quite a bit of traffic. So I'd like to hear about the traffic and the impact that it's going to have in this intersection of Barnett and 10th.
Sure, and just to, Josh is going to sort of control the right person to answer the questions, him, because he knows and has the reports or otherwise. But just to reiterate one of the points, the traffic, unlike what is currently going on, isn't going to go on Barnett. It's going to come in off of 10th because of the new access point. So now all of the traffic goes right, would go left in. And so none of that's going to be allowed. The fuel truck would be the only traffic coming in. So what's going to happen will be that the traffic will come in and won't end up going further down Barnett at all. So it would be able to flow out. So just that was back to Josh's points that he made. Josh, I don't know if you have further on that or Lisa does.
Yeah, so moderator, could you allow Lisa Bernstein to speak? She is our traffic engineer.
Sure.
Thank you.
There she is.
Good evening. Hi, everyone.
Lisa, can you confirm that you were sworn in? I think I saw you. I just wanted to make
Yes,
sure.
I was.
Thank
I
you.
was sworn in the beginning. Thank you. Yes, as Josh has said as well, due to the restriction of the right in, right out, the traffic coming down Barnett heading southbound into the site would be very minimal. In fact, it's only 3%. It's only 3 trips actually exiting in the AM and the PM on that road. Right now, that that traffic on that street and the volumes that were used in the traffic impact study were taken from counts that were done by Palm Beach County at the intersection. So they were more current. So the analysis of the intersection showed no change in level of service with and without the project.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mr. Glazer?
So, Lisa, you're, I guess, the traffic engineer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'm a professional engineer that specializes in traffic. Yes.
good, good. So, right now, you, as far as coming in on Barnett, let's say you're heading west on 10th Avenue. And if you go right onto Barnett, you're going to have something that will block people from traffic doing a left turn into this site.
The city has requested that the entrance be a painted peanut island and a no left turn sign facing northbound Barnett traffic.
So it's just going to be a sign. It's not going to be like there's another turn.
It'll be a painted island because the fuel truck has to enter.
Okay.
So it will be an illegal movement. So it would be a ticketable offense.
Okay, so you're planning on having most of the traffic coming in off of 10th Avenue North heading west, correct?
Yes, it's a mix of traffic heading east, turning in on 10th, and west, turning in on 10th, correct.
Okay. What about if you're heading east on 10th? How would you access into this property?
There is a left turn lane running down the middle of 10th Avenue. So there's enough storage for you to stack and turn left into the site from 10th.
Okay, so at the light, you would make you wait for the light, then you'd make a left turn, and can we blow this up so I can take a look at it? I'm a little slow.
No, you're not even gonna get to the light because the driveway is west. The access driveway is west of the intersection. So you will be before the intersection.
Right, do we have a picture of this or a drawing so I can just?
Andrew or Josh, can you please share the site plan so we can pull that up while we're discussing the deceleration lane?
I'm grabbing it now. Give me about a minute.
We're going to pull that up for you, Mr. Glazer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I will just add that was in the county comment letter. There were two conditions of approval in the initial TPS comment letter from the county. That one was the deceleration lane off of 10th Avenue North with the right turn movement into the project directly from 10th Avenue North. And the other item was related to the left-hand turn on Barnett left from Barnett to 10th Avenue North. I believe the applicant had to provide some improvements or some additional property there as well. So there were two items requested from the county in their initial comment letter. We are awaiting the final TPS letter for traffic concurrency. So the traffic concurrency letter, as part of your conditions of approval, the traffic concurrency letter will not be able to, or the development order will not be issued until we receive the traffic concurrency letter. So, so regardless of what happens today or whatever you approve, until we get that letter from the county that says they've met countywide concurrency, then the development order will not be issued.
Okay, there we go. So I see that the decel lane, and that's westbound, correct?
Yes.
You're heading westbound. And there's a light, right? Isn't there a light right on Barnett and 10th Avenue North?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say that you stop at the light. You want to go into the 7-Eleven. You would proceed heading west and you get into the decel lane, and that would be your access into the 7-Eleven and the fuel pumps, correct?
Yes,
Okay. I think my question is, and forgive me, I'm a little bit slow again. If you're heading east, how do you get into the 7-Eleven?
the 10th Avenue has a dual left turn lane running down the middle.
Do we
So you
have,
can-
do we show that anywhere?
Well, if you see the left turn arrow in the middle of the road, it's actually a dual, it's a dual left turn lane.
Andrew, does
So-
your mouse work to show the turn lane in the center? There it is.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so,
That runs all the way down 10th.
all right, so what you would do there, again, how would you get where that left turn arrow into the entrance?
Lisa, just if I can, because I think I could, do you see where the 80-foot is? Is that where you would make, where someone would be making the left, that lane goes far enough down that that's where they would be making left? I think that's what Mr. Glazer is asking.
Correct, correct. That middle, that left and storage lane runs all the way down 10th. So yes, you would store in that lane and turn left into, heading east, you would turn left into the site from that lane right there where your hand is.
Okay, oh, stop right there. That's where you go from that
Yes.
80-foot on 10th Avenue North, you go right that way. That's like
Yes.
it's a left turn lane.
Yes, sir.
Maybe it could have been symbolized better, but really that lane allows both a movement for a left turn and a right turn from, it allows you to go either way. So it probably should have had the arrows closer together for you, but that's exactly right.
Okay, and you're gonna have 14 fuel positions in this, and what kind of traffic generation are we gonna have from those, 14 places where you can fuel, and also going into the store and the restaurant? What is the traffic that we've come up with? How many trips per day during peak hour?
The net new trips for the site, which eliminates pass by, those trips that are already on the road going to another destination. The net new would be 47 entering and 47 exiting during the morning, and 47 entering and 47 exiting in the PM peak. That's the net new. You don't, there's traffic already on the road that's already there that will access the store. But the net new is those numbers.
Okay, net new is, Lisa,
The net new is the traffic from the proposed use minus the existing use, less the pass by.
okay, because the old use was for trucks, so this is going to create a lot more traffic going in. So you're figuring that your net use is what it's generating right now, which is nothing, okay, into what it's going to create during peak hours. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So you say those trips are like during peak hour. What time is peak hour?
AM peak hour is considered 7 AM to 9 AM, and PM peak hour is considered 4 PM to 6 PM.
You're saying 47 people are going to access in here during the peak hour? Is that
Net new,
kinda-
enter, 47 enter and 47 exit. Yes,
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate it.
you're very welcome.
Lisa, don't go far. Mr. Glazer, any other questions right now?
Nope, no further questions right now.
Thank you. I have a question. In a perfect world, yeah, this is the great traffic flow. Here's my my comment. There are some businesses on the east side of Barnett directly in line with this new site, or what will be the new site, correct?
Yes.
what about those folks that are over there in the morning, in the afternoon, or any time of the day, and they decide, hey, I want to run over to 7-Eleven and get me an icy. How are they going to come out of their development and go down and come in? Because typically they probably, there's not going to be it's just going to be a painted median, right? On Barnett.
Yes,
So they could effectively go down there and cheat. They could come out of their driveways and go north on Barnett and take a left into the to the most northern entry point to your property, correct?
well, they're very close. Hopefully they would walk.
This is Florida. We would drive our cars to the bathroom in the morning when we got out of bed if we could.
But now that we're walking from the bedroom to our office at our house, I think a little bit more exercise might be in order.
Well, yeah, Richard Simmons said that for years, but
And actually for retail, their morning peak is less than the proposed store would be. As a typical retail usually has a more of a midday, late afternoon peak. Yes, absolutely they could cheat, but hopefully they don't. Hopefully they walk or they go the right way.
okay. That's a good hope.
If I may, this is Erin. The right in, right out was a county condition reflective of their initial comment letter. If the board desires a full connection there with allowing a left-hand turn into the project off Barnett, but that was done to minimize impact on the property owners to the east. If that's not a concern of the property owners or the board, that's something we could take back to the county and request a full connection there. Because site circulation and connection of the property to the rights of way is under your purview. So we can take that as a recommendation back to the county if you'd like more connectivity and options. So
Well, I'm just afraid, and we had a lengthy discussion several times about the property at A and 10th Avenue North. And I'm sure staff and everybody knows what projects or whatever that I'm talking about, referencing. And that was a similar situation to well, those were residents back there, to the residents, and but we got this at the same time, those businesses across on the east side of Barnett are going to, at least several times a day, I have to think, want to get in their cars and go over there and get a cup of coffee or whatever. If we only made it accessible that they could get in, but they could get in there on your northernmost corner of your property on Barnett, that might be something that, because you could stack quite a few cars from 10th Avenue to there. So it's not like you're going to back up, I think, a lot of traffic on Barnett, but just a point.
Sure. And Mr. Ryson, if it's the pleasure of the commission that we go back and work with the county, and if the county or if we can work that out, we'd be happy to do that if that's the pleasure of the commission tonight. And I think we're trying to manage a whole lot of moving parts, but certainly if that's what you all want, we'll go back and, Barnett is a local road, as I recall. We'll work with your staff and work to make that happen as best we can. And if the county really doesn't allow it and they have the ability to do that, we're somewhat bound to what they tell us on their roads.
Oh, I'm aware of that.
Otherwise, we'll do that.
I just thought it might be something could come up. Where's the sign going to be for the outside off the signs off the building? Where's the sign going to be?
Josh?
Is it going to be on the south west corner of the property, or where is it going to be?
I'll turn that one over to Josh.
Sure, the monument sign. You can see it there on the far southeast corner, right there where Andrew's circling.
Yeah,
that will be a monument sign, and all the signage complies with the city's code standards for signage.
Will you have a sign at the, on the west side of the, you know, the northwest, right there where the turning in and out driveway is, you guys are gonna put in?
We do have
Well,
directional signage. But
Yes.
the monument sign will be on the corner, and then we'll have directional signage near the intersect or near the actual ingress points.
Okay, good. Okay, anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
When you say 47 additional traffic in the AM and in the PM, is that per hour or is that for the 2-hour shift?
That's during the peak hour of that 2-hour window.
So it's really double the 47?
No, it's, the peak hour is, you do the counts between that 2-hour window, and then you find the peak hour within that time. And that's how the peak hour is referenced. It's the peak hour within that 2-hour window.
You know, and for with the eastbound traffic and even the westbound, you know, the same peak hours that you've got here, just a little bit west of you and on the other side of 10th Avenue, on the south side, you've got a Dunkin' Donut. And yeah, I just see a lot of traffic backing up there between the two. And, you know, I'm not so concerned about the traffic, but when, you know, it is Florida, and when you have a person coming out of the 7-Eleven, they're not necessarily going to stay in the right-hand lane. They've always got to go to the extreme left lane and block traffic or cause an accident. And it, you know, between 7 and 9 in the morning and 4 and 6 at night, an accident on 10th Avenue, it really, it's just horrible. That's my 2 cents.
So but that's not, you didn't craft that in the shape of a question, right?
Well, the first part of it was, the rest of it was statement.
Right.
I want to caution the board not to deliberate at this point. You are just
Okay.
asking questions at this point. So ask questions, and then we'll go to public comment, and we'll close the public hearing, and you can deliberate.
That's kind of what I was
That's
leading to.
exactly what you were saying. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I have a
Any
question.
other board members?
Yes, I have a question.
Well, please, let's hear your question.
Does 7-Eleven give any consideration to how close they put 7-Elevens to other 7-Elevens? I see that there are 3 7-Elevens in Lake Worth within a 1-mile radius.
So I don't know if Brandon Wolf is on the line still, but I do know that they do market studies to consider the numbers of just because we've had this discussion multiple times, the numbers of 7-Elevens in the vicinity, as well as the pass-by traffic that they would be capturing, the neighborhood that they're in, and the sort of market dynamics that go into that to determine whether it could be successful. So they do know what else is there and what they're able to provide, and their goal being fill the need based on that, all that demographic and business data.
And they're all independently owned?
No, well, sort of. They're franchised. So they have operational requirements from 7-Eleven that happen at every 7-Eleven, and they get monitored by 7-Eleven as the franchisees. Some of the things that they're required to do some community engagement. They're required to operate in certain ways to keep things in a certain manner. There's all kinds of, it's a very long document, the franchise document that they all agree to in their operations for consistency purposes.
Laura, how many 7-Elevens did you say there are in
a 1-mile radius? There's 3. There's one on 4th. There's one on 4th and Dixie, one on 9th and Dixie, and then this one.
Are those all 7-Elevens?
7-Elevens.
Brandon, I think I just saw you unmute.
Yeah, hey guys. Sorry, I'm in and out here. I'm actually at the doctor's office getting tested here. Um, but yes, to answer your question, Brandon Wolf, 7-Eleven corporate employee, I have been sworn in. So
Have
we
not?
do have, I have
Yes,
been
he
sworn in,
has.
yes. So to answer your question, yes, we do have various locations around. We look at it from a network planning perspective, how travelers on the road, how pedestrians, and how local residents and businesses are accessing our stores based on traffic pattern during day parts. And so if there's an opportunity for us to capture a different trade area or what we call a different customer, which is what we deem this site to provide the opportunity for, then that's how we aggressively look at sites in our expansion. Obviously, we don't want to cannibalize our existing network of stores. We want to add complementary opportunities for convenience for our customers and different residents and consumers as we feel like the option presents itself. So with this location, we do feel like there's an additional opportunity to service both a customer and the neighborhood there. So that's why we're aggressively looking at the site and trying to move forward. To answer Brian's question a little bit more thoroughly, our typical locations are corporately backed by a lease or a purchase. So all real estate decisions are done through corporate 7-Eleven. Once we get entitlements or approvals from different municipalities, then we would open up certain locations to the franchise network, and the highest and most qualified candidate would then be able to franchise the location. This location in particular, as we've talked with staff, is very special, and we're excited about the opportunity. It is an opportunity to showcase one of our newer concepts under the 7-Eleven umbrella called a Laredo Taco concept, which is a quick service restaurant inside of our store. So this actually would be a corporate location. We would not open this up to the franchise network, at least for the first 4 years. So with that, you get all of the corporate backed guarantees, corporate policies is how we run our stores. So the highest and best caliber of quality and service. So this is an opportunity for us to test the brand, and also what we feel like is a great opportunity for the city and the neighboring residents and commuters to try this new opportunity here in Florida. It will be one of the first ones we've ever done. So they're doing really well in Texas. So to answer your question in a long way, hopefully I didn't get too winded, but I wanted to be thorough.
Is it Brandon? Is it Brandon?
Yes, sir.
So then does 7-Eleven still own the property and just lease it if they do transfer it to a franchisee?
So yes, all of our leases are a 15-year initial term with 3 or 4 5-year options. So basically, you know, we're in it for the long haul. So this is a 40-year commitment we're making at this location as our other locations.
And you're required by that, I'm guessing, to maintain the exteriors and landscaping.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Polish and all that. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the eating at this restaurant will be inside only, or?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. At this location, you know, we really want to make it a point for our customers to be able to come in and grab the food and go. There will be, I believe, a few inside tables and maybe a lean bar against that front window, but there's no plan for any exterior seating of any kind at this point.
And the restaurant gets what, 2,500 square feet of that building?
No, it's not that much. It's about 800 square feet.
Oh, 800 square feet. Oh, okay. Had my numbers wrong. Okay. Anybody else have a question? Mr. Glazer, I see you on my screen, full screen.
Sorry, no.
Okay. Anthony?
Yes, thank you, Greg. A couple of questions here for staff. I want to start one question for our city attorney. In the letter that we received from the affected party, it's questioning the ability to hold a quasi-judicial hearing the way we are today. And also that the last line stating that there could be some accountability for the city. We've been doing this for several months now out of necessity. Would you please comment for us on your feeling towards that?
Sure. I'm actually surprised that Mr. Baird raised that issue. He's a city attorney in several cities, and I'm sure they've been having, I'm not positive, but I would be surprised if they were not also having quasi-judicial hearings. The courts, the governor, they've all been very clear that we could meet this way and we could have these types of meetings. There, in my opinion, there is absolutely nothing wrong with holding these meetings virtually, as long as you give everyone the right to be heard, which we have done. We've given Mr. Baird's client the ability to speak. They have their other reasons for not being able to speak. They're saying they didn't have enough notice. That's a different issue from whether or not this virtual meeting is appropriate. As I stated in my email to Mr. Baird, the court system, which are not quasi-judicial, but completely judicial, have been having virtual non-jury trials. And they've given due process, which means that they allow you to make a presentation. They allow you to cross-examine witnesses. Ms. Cole made sure that she saw everyone. That is something that Lake Worth Beach does. When you give your oath, we want to see you taking the oath. And as you notice, each one of the witnesses has stated that they were under oath. So that issue has, I shouldn't say has been settled, because this has only been a 5-6 month process that we've been going through. But if he wants to appeal that issue, he can go right ahead. I know they've done it in the criminal world. I know because my husband is in the criminal court system, and they have not had success in stopping these virtual meetings. So we are going forward. As you can see, I do not believe that issue has any merit. Of course, as I said, this is pretty novel issue. So if they want to raise it on appeal, they have the right to do so. I am very comfortable with the board moving forward, and with you making your decision.
Okay, thank you. So just to summarize that, there has not been they've not been deprived of any opportunity, whether it's virtual or in person, because we've facilitated all the same things we would have in person, correct?
That is correct. Now, I will point out that they also raised the issue about notice, and I addressed that in the email as well. This meeting was advertised. His client received the notice in the mail. I'm sorry that they did not reach out to Mr. Baird until 2 days ago. We heard from other individuals who wanted to participate days ago, so they had the letter in hand. They did not call the city at that time. I don't know if they called the applicant, but they certainly didn't call the city. And the first we heard from them was this afternoon around 2 o'clock. That issue, they can also pursue that issue as well, but I'm very confident that we're solid on our notice as well.
Thank you very much for addressing that. Next question is for staff with reference to the 8-foot setback. I know one of the things that we look at is shape of the land. This one has a irregular shape. So my question for staff is, do you feel that due to the shape of the land and also the requirement for the traffic flow, that is enough to satisfy and necessitate that 8-foot variance on the setback?
Yes, Andrew here. The staff does believe that those two criteria do necessitate the variance in that location for the 8-foot additional on the maximum setback line.
Okay, thank you. Next question for staff. It was brought up in the, yes.
Sorry. I would like to just add on to what Andrew said. We have evaluated as well that the 8 feet is the minimum amount they need to facilitate the two-way traffic. So that does meet one of the more important criteria of the variance request.
Thank you for clarifying that, the minimum portion. The next question was about the color. In the staff report, it was stated that there was a request for not going with the standard beige. In the applicant's presentation, we see that they offered 3 other, well, the standard, another kind of mild change option, and then a significant one. Are either of those two alternatives that were presented satisfactory for staff for that color part, or is there something else you're going to be looking for?
I'll mention I was the one who raised the objection to the quintessential Lake Worth beige. And part of our conditions of approval would be that you allow staff to work with the applicant to have an appropriate color scheme that's colorful, bright, and enlightening, but also is acceptable for 7-Eleven corporate. What was provided in the visuals is a little difficult to see exactly what those colors are. I don't have the Pantone numbers. And so we would request as part of your approval, if you decide to give it, a condition that we work with the applicant to coordinate appropriate colors for our design guidelines.
Okay, thank you. I don't have it pulled up in front of me at the moment. Is that listed in the conditions of approval, that specific?
I read that, Anthony.
It's there? Okay, thank you. Just not looking at it at the moment.
And we do agree to all those conditions.
Okay, very good. Next and last one for staff. I saw that it stated that the TPS letter was requested. I know that came up a little bit, so this part may have already been answered as we went through. I think I heard what staff stated is that that has to come back acceptable, correct? That's one of the conditions. I think you did address that question earlier.
That is correct, Mr. Murata.
Okay. All right, that's it for my questions. Thank you.
Well, this board gets to, or has to approve rather, murals painted on the public walls and inside the city. So it only makes sense that we should have the chance to pick some outside colors, solid colors, instead of mural colors.
Fair enough.
Dana, you have any questions?
I
Hello,
do not.
Danny.
I do not.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I hope you're not driving.
Mr. Chairman, this is Erin, and I just wanted to mention the fact that
Erin, we lost you.
we did push the applicant quite hard on the landscaping and the pervious surface. They were very receptive to our changes, and you really see a substantial amount of landscaping on the property for a use of this nature. So,
Well, thank you, Erin. I thought you were on vacation.
I am. I'm on the porch in Michigan.
The beauty
I had a
of
question
Zoom.
for you. The reason I know, I had a question for you earlier today, and I was told you're on vacation, and I said, well, if she's in Key West, I'll drive down and ask her this afternoon before the meeting. Then I was told you're in Michigan. I said, nah, I'll take a pass. Sorry. So we can all agree that this particular use falls within the boundaries of our codes and future land use map and LDRs and the whole 9 yards. Is that's right, Andrew? And anyone else that wants to chime in?
That is correct. The uses are allowable uses through this use review process in our use table in the zoning district.
Mr. Chair,
No, go ahead, Erin. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I had one more. I had a follow up to that. Go ahead.
If I may as well, well, this is uses in is as our mixed use west zoning district, and this is our most intense commercial district, or mixed use district that allows our most intense commercial and some even hybrid commercial industrial uses. So this is a very intensive district. This is the only area where this district is applied. So it's kind of a unique location west of 95. The zoning district east of 95 is a different zoning district.
Correct.
Something else, Chairman, I'd like to add too is that in the 10 years I've been with the city of Lake Worth Beach, the amount of pedestrian traffic along 10th Avenue North has increased exponentially. And this project does do a great service in improving the pedestrian experience. And I'm very certain that a great deal of their traffic into their store will be coming from a pedestrian level, either from the motels and hotels down the street, or from the children who will be attending the middle school down on in the Barnett.
Right. I was thinking the same thing when I was thinking about the school. So, and then the only other thing that we had to discuss was the variance for 8 foot from front setback. Is that correct? Most of the time when people are looking for variances for a setback, they want to be closer to the edge, not further away. Typically, all the cases we've heard over the years. So that's agreeable to the parties, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. All of that analysis is in our staff report and Andrew's presentation. This is the use, the county deceleration lane, the requirements related to the fueling truck configuration of the site itself are all in Andrew's analysis.
Thank you once again, Aaron. Sherry?
I am here.
Thank you. Have we gotten, other than the copies of the email we got this afternoon, late this afternoon, have we gotten any other letters from the public?
No, we have not had any other public comment.
And do we have anybody that filled out a blue card before tonight's meeting?
So the blue cards now would be a combination of my email or telephone calls while the meeting is ongoing through the portal, of which I have received nothing.
Nothing, okay. And Pamela, does that also satisfy public comment from?
It absolutely does. The public had an opportunity to review this meeting. The public had an opportunity to send an email in. So we are now at the point of, I would take final comments from the city, from the applicant, or from the affected parties, if they have any comments, so that you can close the public hearing portion and begin to deliberate.
Thank you, Pamela. I was going to ask for the affected parties if they'd like to come up and make a presentation at this time. Would that be appropriate?
Yes.
Thank you, Pam. Gentlemen?
Okay, I've just moved them over as panelists, so they should be able to speak now.
Okay.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Should I go on there?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, my name is Fred Schmidt.
Fred, you look good on television, by the way.
Thank you, sir. You're not so bad yourself, young man. So be that as it is, you know, Dan and I are the owners of the buildings that face Aragon as well as Barnett. So the first two buildings, if you're traveling from south to north on Barnett off the corner of 10th Avenue, the first building on the right belongs to us. And then there's a street, Aragon Avenue, and the second building belongs to us. And then the next set of buildings are under the tutelage of Paco Gill, and he's one of the possible speakers here as well. So we've been in that neighborhood for quite a long time. I've got to tell you, I'm shocked. I know that you complied, I guess, to the letter of the notice, but I'm shocked that, I mean, we do business there. You know, we're showing space. I was there this morning. I'm there regularly. Dan's there all the time, coming and going. He has other buildings a little deeper off of, you know, the road to the west and Marlin Industrial Park. So that's our neighborhood. We're traveling 10th Avenue regularly. So, you know, what I'm getting to is I'm shocked at the notice that we got it at the kind of, you know, after 4th of July weekend. And and I'm further shocked that I'm finding tonight that this hearing is a final hearing. And, you know, in the dealings we've had before, when we've had, you know, variances and conditional use approvals, we had a hearing and then it went to the, you know, the commission. But, you know, it just seems like we haven't had a chance to really fully get our arms around this with this short a notice. So, you know, we've been in the neighborhood a long time. We look at it as a big potential traffic problem. We see the school down the street In the afternoons, we have children walking up and down the street, coming into our parking lots. And it's difficult to pull out onto Barnett in the first part of if you're in our buildings to pull out. In fact, in the first building, it's almost impossible. You have to go around the block parallel to 10th Avenue and go around the end of the buildings and come back up the other side of Aragon. So that's a point I'd like to make. The other thing is, and we're not attorneys, so we don't have an attorney here representing us, but in our other hearings, what I understood is when you're granting conditional use, it's conditional. And it's kind of in the spirit of it is they're granted provided they don't disturb the viability of the adjoining businesses. And, we believe that this is going to have a heavy impact on our traffic there, and it'll make it difficult for our businesses to come and go, especially during the rush hours. Even now, when I show the property, I try to avoid the rush hours because it doesn't show well during rush hours. We haven't complied with, the traffic concurrency and at that corner for 20 years. And now we're loading it up with a lot more trips, way more than we had before. So this seems to be a very large facility for the site. I mean, it's of the ilk or the neighbor or of the type of a raceway or a marathon or a Wawa from what we can see. A C-store, in my experience as a commercial real estate broker, C-stores used to be 2,000, 2,500 feet, sometimes 3,000. And now I'm hearing this is 4,720 feet, including the 750-foot restaurant. To me, that's huge. That's a big footprint there in that corner with all those pumps. So I don't like the idea of how the traffic comes from the west and they have to turn with no traffic light. That looks to me to be a dangerous situation. So I think there's life safety issues with this, especially with the kids coming from the school. If you could see them in the afternoons, right now, of course, that's all in abeyance because they're not going to school. But when that reopens and those kids pour up and down that street, there's going to be problems, I'm afeared. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Danny?
Okay, am I starting? You ready?
Yes, we are.
We have 9 low impact building tenants in there. You know that we have our veterinary hospital, which is less than 50 feet from where these trucks are going to be staging out front. There's no way for them to enforce that left-hand turn lane trucks only because there's 450 students being picked up every afternoon between 3 or 4 o'clock, which makes the place gridlocked. They U-turn through ours, they run over the fences. There's 250 parents coming in there. The street hasn't been traffic concurrent for the last 23 years that I've owned the building. I don't know how much farther before that. It's extremely overburdened. The middle school is in session, morning and evening.
Mr.
Yes.
Hyatt, I'm sorry. I don't believe you were in the on the attendee list when we began the meeting to swear in. I recall Mr. Schmidt, but I do not recall you being there.
I was there too. I was sworn in. We're sitting next to each other 2 foot away. I could see myself on screen.
I'm sorry. We did not see you on the screen. So if you'd like to.
Can you see me now?
I still cannot see you.
Okay, I'm gonna hold up my hand. I'm on the center.
Okay, now I do. Okay, I
Okay.
see you now. All right, do you swear and affirm the testimony you will give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, I'll continue. We also have the Action Mobility place across the street where everybody in the county comes and buys the vehicles that are equipped for the handicapped people. And they can barely get out just to make a right-hand turn. Anything west of 95 from the Walmart, which you all know is out there a little farther from the intersection of Florida Mango, is totally gridlocked all day long. How they think that anybody's gonna be able to turn left across the thundering herd of traffic coming off of I-95 is beyond me because I'm there every day. The traffic signals are at Barnett and at Detroit. There is no traffic signal where they're going to be turning into this place. This is a 14 pump gas station. I went around and looked at a couple of them. There's a brand new one on the corner of Lantana Road, US 1, that creates a large traffic hazard just adjacent to Lake Worth on the border of Lantana. This is nothing but a giant Wawa's copy, which is normally on 3 acres of land. Wawa, I've done some site development and research for Wawa's. A facility this size should have a minimum of 2.5 acres. This is 1.24 acres. I don't know how they're even getting all this stuff in. They not only want the exception, the use, the variance, and everything else, but it's just that intersection is already impassable, is going to get worse. We have 2 tenants in the back of our rear building, the Saxony Rug Company, American Standards, that are both wholesalers with low impact. We have our vet clinic that, you know, it takes a lot longer to take your dog to the vet and stay there an hour than it does to come in there and buy a Slurpee and take off. You know, also, I don't know what nobody mentioned that there's a full FedEx facility down the street that competes with Barnett. Barnett is totally overburdened. And you know, therefore there's just, and then when the kids get out of school, it doesn't matter. They're crawling everywhere. The other thing I want to point out is that was a truck rental facility as an accessory building for Wayne Acres Ford. People came there in the morning, they picked up a large truck and they left at the end of the day. Again, it wasn't buying a Slurpee or buying a taco where there's, you know, a lot of traffic and a lot of people in there. You know, it's just gonna, the corner is already totally overburdened. The people, you can't get out on Barnett, you hardly make a left-hand turn. And what they're gonna do, they're gonna circulate through there, illegally come out that other exit so they can come up to the light at Barnett to get out of there. Because that's the only way to get out of there at a traffic light, either at Barnett or at Detroit.
Going eastbound, yeah.
Going eastbound or westbound. I don't know how many of y'all have been out there lately, but I have 2 warehouses out in the real industrial park out at Boutwell that I have to traverse back and forth between them. And a lot of times I stop at my 2 buildings there, then I go back and try to cut into the back to go to the vet clinic or go to the other people. And there's just no way to pass through there like that. It's totally, you know, there hasn't been any, when I tried to get the variance for that vet clinic 20 years ago, the response was that street hasn't been in concurrency for years. It hasn't gotten less busy. And it hasn't been, you know, has anybody ever answered the question, is the street in fact non-concurrent with the traffic regulations from the county? It is not. Hasn't been for the 30 years since I built that industrial park and the 23 years since Fred and I bought these buildings. Now we're going to put this giant Wawa imitation in the middle of it. I guess that's it for me. My 3 minutes is probably up.
We object.
We object to the project.
Thank you, sir. Pam?
I have one question that I'd like to ask. Just one more, sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Are they going to have alcoholic beverages in this 7-Eleven?
Brandon, if you're still on, that question is probably best for you.
Yeah, beer and wine. Just beer
Okay,
and wine.
we already have 2 7-Elevens like this out on the corner of Boutwell, which is an attractive nuisance for the 400 or 500 homeless that live back in there already. You know, the people at the Citgo and the people at the Shell station. A friend of mine, Chad Drake, owned that Shell station for the last 25 years. And their constant problem with the homeless coming in there to buy their alcohol and their cigarettes and the wine. And that's gonna be up in that area too, around those 450 school kids.
Okay, can I ask the question? Doesn't this site require a variance because of the proximity of the school?
The only variance that's being asked is related to the building setback. That's the only variance they've requested. All other, the site is entirely consistent with the city's land development regulations. This particular use would always come to a board because this use requires a board approval or conditional review. So regardless of its consistency with the LDRs, as a matter of process, this would be reviewed before this board.
I might add the one on the corner of Lantana Road and US 1, which is just adjacent, 5 minutes from the southern border of Lake Worth. It's creating all the traffic issues down there. The people coming off I-95 is a 6 pump station, not a 14 pump station.
Any other comments, gentlemen?
I have a question for Mr. Schmidt, if I may, about that last comment. What data supports, I'm sorry, not Mr. Schmidt. I'm looking at, it says Fred Schmidt, but I guess it's Mr. Hyatt. What data says that the Lantana store is what's creating the traffic. Did you have a count done, or is that just your thought?
I live there. I go for my business property over there every day. It's got the same condition, Lantana Road. You approach the railroad track where where the Station House restaurant is.
Yes, sir.
Okay, when they get up to that light there, there's one left-hand turn lane to go to Lake Worth, one to go straight, and one to go to the right. They overburden that intersection by going through when the red turn lane, when the arrow is going to the north for Lake Worth and the green, and you can turn right, but you can't go straight. You can't run the lights, so they just stand there. They sit there both lanes. We've worked with some of the people in the traffic enforcement, Sean Schiller, the police chief, and they have tried to work out some viable thing, but obviously they know that there was some traffic control errors made there.
Mr. Hyatt, could you just clarify for the record, was this related to the Lantana project you were discussing, the traffic errors and the other things that you were just discussing?
I made the statement that the Lantana store has 6 pumps, and this one they're asking for 14.
I just wanted to make sure it was clear that what was pertaining to what. Thank you.
Right. I was pertaining to the Lantana one, but Lantana Road has less than 50% less traffic than 10th Avenue. I know that for a fact because I own property on both of them.
Pam?
Yes.
Could I ask Mr. Schmidt or Mr. Hyatt a question right now?
Yes, you can ask any of the parties a question at this point before we close the public hearing portion.
Okay. Mr. Hyatt or Mr. Smith, is there a school crossing guard there at Barnett and 10th Avenue?
No,
Has there ever been?
not that I've ever seen in 23 years.
Okay.
See, the buses circulate. The buses come in on Barnett and they go down, they circulate through the parking lot where there's a red light at Barnett. Then they come out of Detroit Street, which is on the other side. You know, Fred Schmidt and I were involved with that building that Paco owns for 15 years there. And they make a big circle through. So most of the interaction with the school busing kids that get on the bus, we don't see that much of them. But there's all the people that pick up the children. You know, if you come over there at 4 o'clock, like Fred was joking about, Greg, when you try to rent a bay, there's 15 or 20 parents. You know, there's 100 of them lining the street, but there's 15 or 20 on our property there in the parking lot and on our little adjacent street, Oregon, which is between our two buildings.
Waiting for the kids.
Waiting for the kids to walk up there or driving down to pick up the kids.
Hey, Fred, I can't believe that a realtor would try to shield a known deficiency to a potential buyer or leaser.
No, I'm being selfish.
I bring them in at night to look at the property.
We're acting
No,
as a landlord.
I'm being selfish, and I don't like the traffic myself.
Nobody does, that's for sure.
I don't know how, I think the population at school, you know, it's a large school.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Board members, any other questions that has come about as a result of the public comment? Let's not call it that, but
I have a
affected
question.
parties. What's that?
I have a question.
Well, please bring it forward.
Would the reduction in pumps affect the net change in daily trips to the site? So for example, if it was only 8 or 10 or even 6 pumps, would that significantly reduce the trips, or would that have no net effect?
Brian?
I think Brian got.
Or Brandon.
Perhaps Lisa could address that. She's the applicant traffic engineer.
Well, I mean, I would have to run the calculation, but because it's the trip generation for a convenience store where the gas station is based on a combination of the square footage of the store and the number of pumps.
If I could, for the record, real quick, some terminology has been thrown around between pumps and fueling positions. We have 7 pumps with 14 fueling positions. So I think that's an important characteristic to just establish for the record. 7 pumps.
So they're on both sides.
How many do you have in Lantana?
I off the top of my, I don't have that plan in front of me. So
Six.
6 pumps.
Six. There's one additional pump at this location compared to the Lantana location you're referencing.
Thank you, whoever that was. Was that Brandon?
Yes, sir. That was Brandon Wolf with 7-Eleven.
Thank you.
So that's 12 fueling positions versus 14 fueling positions.
Correct.
Chairman, this is William Waters, Director. I'd like to give you some context. There was a statement made about what other conditional uses and whether the intensity of this was in comparison. As a comparison, our land development regulations in mixed use west would allow this site to have a 6-story building with 140,000 square feet. The project as proposed is 4% the size of that.
Say the last sentence one more time, William.
The
Please.
proposed project as it's designed is 4% of the overall maximum development that's allowed at the site.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could add just one more item as well to William's thought is that, you know, when looking at a use, really traffic concurrency and traffic, it's a difficult situation, and you always have empathy for everybody who has to drive down 10th Avenue North, including me, who has to drive down that road on the way to work. However, the reality is that this is a vacant site, and any use that goes there in this district, because of the nature and characteristic of the district itself, it's probably going to be an intense use. So it's fine to make the determination, yes, we don't want this use because this use is not appropriate, but in my mind, simply to exclude this use because there might be some additional traffic from it, we then have to make the choices. Do we want investment in our city or not? And what does that investment look at? As a policy board, I would encourage you to think about, is this appropriate use for this location? Does this use represent the city? And of course, you want to take into consideration of the impacts and look at the site design to mitigate impacts on the roadway. But the reality is that any use that goes here will be impactful in some way. And do we want those tax dollars going down the road, or do we want to capture them here? And it's an appropriate use, and you've read the staff report. So there's just some thoughts there.
Thank you, Aaron. Keep in mind she's on vacation. Thank you. Board members, anybody else have any comment, question before we can deliberate between ourselves?
I have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Glazer.
I-95 in 10th northbound, we've had a problem as far as making a right turn going north, and DOT was involved in resolving that problem. Has that problem ever been fixed? Has DOT, I mean, I know I hate getting on 10th and trying to make a right turn because I usually get stopped right there.
Mike, where at again? Say that one more time.
10th Avenue and I-95 northbound.
Northbound.
Can't make a right because there's a light that stops you.
Right, from going on 10th Avenue East, right?
On 10th Avenue heading west if you're going to go northbound.
Okay. Yeah.
And so this is 10th Avenue North and I-95, and this is on the other side of 95. But has DOT, have they made any comments in the traffic report on this? Is this a problem?
So that intersection would be reviewed by the county as part of the county review process. They would consult with DOT once it hits 95, but the county review process does consider the impacts, not just at the Barnett 10th intersection. So that TPS review that's required for us to get would consider all the impacts from the site based on that, the way the traffic engineering goes. So the short answer is yes, but not FDOT.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glazer. Anyone else? And since there's no other members of the public that wants to speak for or against or whatever,
No, I'd like to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. We own the building that is to the west of the property. We own the property that is north to the site that you are proposing. And on top of that, we own in Barnett, we own 2 warehouses totaling 45,000 square feet. We go there, we have our headquarters in there, we go there every day. I'm very surprised about the notice. I agree with Frederick and everybody else. We will not be here. We will not have had our attorneys to try to delay this hearing today, because if we had had enough time. The signs that they were put on the site, it was very recent, and it were very small compared to how other sites. I'm sure that is complying with all the regulations, but there was not. I mean, you would be surprised at a project like that, and your neighbors, they don't know anything about it, or you have not talked to them, or you have not seek for their opinion, or what we're thinking. And this is the first time that we hear about it 3 days ago or 4 days ago, whenever it was, but it was absolutely in the last few days. Obviously, Fred and Don, they have already expressed the concerns, but I want to reiterate on those concerns about the kids. We experience every day how the significant amount of kids, they just hang on our property. We have to go to the school. We've been talking to the school many times about what are they doing with those kids. There is significant amount of traffic that is generated every day. The cars, they cut through our property to go from Barnett to Detroit, because how back up the traffic is in Barnett. So this project is only going to add significant problems in the area. That's, you know, we agree with everything that is being said from Fred and Dan, and you know, we don't see that this is going to be a good project for the site. We think it's going to create a safety issue and a significant amount of traffic. Our entrance in Barnett to the property of 10th Avenue it's just 10 feet from where you are telling people that not going to be able to turn left, and they can turn left just 10 feet from there. I don't see how you're going to stop the people from turning left in Barnett into the site. And the congestion is going to be significant. So we're very concerned about this project.
Thank you, sir. I did not mean to ignore you.
Hey, Greg, it's Dan again. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I wanted to be very specific on, I even took the time to go down and check the postmark on this letter. What they did, they mailed the letter on the Thursday afternoon. The postmark was about 4:30 on Thursday, the 2nd of July. The 3rd of July was a legal holiday. The 4th of July was Saturday. The 5th and 6th was Sunday and Monday. When I received this letter on Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday when I got my mail at my house, that would have been the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It was about the 7th or the 8th of the month, which left us about 5 business days. And in the real world, you know, I know the notice was met according to what I saw the letter she sent Paco today. So the long and the short of it is, but you reasonably can't get a letter and have 4 business days to hire a lawyer, get a zoning person. We talked to a couple of lawyers that we've been successful with stuff here before. And you can't hire and retain one of those guys and let him get a good grip on this on 2 or 3 business days. And I don't know why they waited till the 2nd to make sure the letter sat somewhere when the post office and the federal holiday and the 4th of July, the 4 days, everybody knew that nobody could get that mail for 5 days. I don't know whether that was just something that they did strategically, or whether it was just a mistake. But to postmark something and have it not delivered for 5 days, and it happens to be over the 4th of July weekend, with the Friday before that a holiday also, and nobody gets mail on Sunday.
Well, we have somebody on in this group that could probably shed a little light on that. Mr. Waters, is there anything you could say? What is the protocol, whether it's a holiday weekend or whatever?
Minimum standards, but not the spirit of the notice.
We have a 10-day notice. The actual postmark was 12 days before the hearing. And we were called on Monday because I was on bereavement leave and was asked to return phone calls regarding this project. So people did receive notices as early as Monday. Specifically, one of the people that is speaking tonight left me a message very early Tuesday. I went and we returned them as soon as I got back to the office on Wednesday. But there were staff. My telephone number is not on the notice. Anybody could have called and spoken to anybody with the planning and zoning staff, Sherry, Andrew, Alexis, or Aaron. So from our standpoint, there were also postings at the property and the advertisements that the city attorney has mentioned. So the project was duly noticed and actually exceeded our notice requirements per our land development code.
Well, I agree with that, except for the fact there was a 4-day blackout there, the Thursday, the Friday, the Saturday, the Sunday.
So just for clarification, Friday mail was delivered. But just for clarification on the point, which I guess is why people could get the notice and had the notice by Monday morning. But just to be absolutely clear, we did meet the notice requirements. We worked with your staff and, you know, we did everything. There was no strategy. There was no attempts to do anything other than do what is required. It was posted. And the folks here who are objecting go by that site every day, as they've said. So, you know, the process was met, and had anyone reached out to us at any time, we would have happily had some discussions with them.
Thank you, sir. Specifically, what is the requirement? Does it say the mail has to be dropped off at a U.S. post office? Does it?
Notice requirement is that the postmark on the mail must be 10 days in advance of the hearing. In this case, as far as I can count, it was in advance 12 days before the hearing.
And there's no exclusion for weekends or legal holidays or anything? If you're evicting somebody in a court system and you give somebody any legal notice, legal holidays and Saturday and Sunday do not count.
So the notice was appropriate. I'll let your lawyer talk, but we did, just for clarity, the notice was absolutely proper. And I'll let Pam deal with that.
We are getting way off. This, everyone has had an opportunity to make a presentation and to offer a rebuttal. The notice is in the packet. They received notice. The complaint, it's not that they didn't receive notice. The complaint is they didn't receive enough notice. They wanted more notice. They could easily make the same argument with 30 days notice or 45 days notice. The notice was completely legal. So we need to move on. I think we've exhausted everyone in terms of getting information on the project itself. So everyone is on the record about notice, and we need to move on to deliberations. We need to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Pam. With that being said, if there's no other comments from the public, I guess, or the applicant or any others, we will close the public comment portion. And now I will turn to the board members here and go up and down the aisle and see what comments, questions, or discussion can be brought up by any of the board members. Mark, can I start with you?
Yeah, I've got no more questions or comments.
Thank you, Mark. Danny?
I think the city and the client have both made ample attempts to take all these factors into consideration. I love the tree coverage and the landscape design. I see no issue with the variance for the setback, especially due to that unique corner of the parcel there. We may have some traffic concerns. However, I don't necessarily believe that this is even the most intense use that is permitted by right on this site. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura?
I wanted to
Yes,
ask,
Laura?
yeah, I wanted to ask Mr. Wolf from 7-Eleven, did you say that this is the first restaurant? This is the first model of this new business you're doing? Or you have them going in Texas already?
We have them in, we have almost 500 restaurant units in the US, but we have none currently in Florida. So this is one of a few dozen that are planned currently in Florida.
Are they all the same size?
Roughly, yes, around that 4,500 square foot plus or minus. Yes, ma'am.
I'm talking about the restaurant portion.
Oh, yes, 500 to 800 square feet.
What's the capacity for customers?
I'm not sure on that.
What's the seating? What do you propose the seating capacity to be in this location?
Josh or Shane, do you have the site plan in front of you? I'm not in front of my computer right now. I apologize. I'm in the doctor's office.
Still?
Yeah, still waiting.
Just don't cough, Brandon.
While we're waiting for the answer to that, I have another question. So people might, who are going to this, if they in their car, where do they? How many parking spaces do you have in the parking lot? Or is there a parking lot? How many parking spaces are there?
Josh, I believe we have 32 parking spaces, but Josh, you can confirm.
Yes, I'm looking up, I'm counting seats right now, but we are over, we do meet the parking standards. And we have 16 seats inside for the restaurant portion. 5 of those are stand-up lane 2 tables. And now you got a question on parking spaces?
Yeah, how many total parking spaces, Josh?
Just 1 second. I will get that for you. We have 32 parking spaces.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Glazer, if you would, please, sir, step up to the mic. Mike?
All right.
Mike. That's right.
My feelings are that we should give more time to review this and at least let the opposition on this, as 7-Eleven says they like to have good neighbors, let them look at this, let them talk to their councils, and let's postpone this and review it again at our next meeting or as soon as possible.
Any other comments? Mike?
Nope,
Any other
that's
comments?
it.
If that were to occur, who's going to bear the expense of re-advertising, and do we have to do that? I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, if you wish, you could continue the item to the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Anthony?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree largely with Daniel's comments in reviewing myself. I like the landscaping, thought it looks good. As staff has pointed out, and I think William was very specific when he gave the percentage of intensity that this project is versus what would be allowed there, including projects allowed by right. The city or the applicant met and exceeded slightly the notice requirements. So just simply going by what the requirements are, whether we agree or disagree, it's 10 days, it's 10 days. So that part doesn't have any bearing on my decision. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My comments are this. We all know, I'm sure most of us sit on this board. I know, certainly I know firsthand what it's like to have a vacant property next door to you and enjoying the environment that that vacant property creates or doesn't create or whatever. And then all of a sudden, there's a change in the zoning, highest and best use. Somebody else comes in, buys the property that has a specific use that wants to maximize, the profitability of that property or what have you. Next thing, you got 69 townhouses right next door on a property that has been vacant since our family owned the property, this particular property I'm talking about, before World War II. So you can imagine the difference in traffic and everything else in a period over that time. So that's the unfortunate thing about living next door to a vacant or owning property next door to a vacant property. You kind of get used to those old worn out shoes, what have you. I know my most comfortable shoes in my closet are the oldest boat shoes that I have, but my wife doesn't like me wearing them very often because they shouldn't be in public, but they're comfortable. It's familiar. I also know that in a place like Florida, especially South Florida, there's never going to be a time that there's less traffic on the road than there is today, simply because, as I mentioned, I'm a native Floridian like some of you in this room are, and we're not used to walking. We're not used to taking mass transit or public transit. I've said it before, but it always draws a laugh. We would definitely drive our car to the bathroom in the morning if we could, but we can't. So yes, there's always going to be traffic, more traffic, no matter where we are or how long we live in Florida. That's never going to go away, I don't think. I do have concerns that and I can't see why the city doesn't have a school crossing guard there if there is such a group of kids that gather there or wait there or whatever in the morning, because we do have crossing guards up and down 10th Avenue and other places around the city. We have them on A Street and areas near the high school. So I don't know who we should talk to about that, but I think it's something that should be discussed. So that's my basic comment. I wish that everybody could get what they want tonight. I don't see necessarily there being a major problem with giving a little more time, but it seems to me, as was stated by staff, and that it's a permitted, use. It's zoned. It's got the right zoning in place. Everything's there for this type of business operation. Delaying it for another month, I don't know what can be said that could change that, because that in and of itself could put the city in some kind of a catch-22 situation. If we turned them down, you'd have to have darn good reasons to not allow this use, especially when Mr. Waters said that the maximum build out on that property could be a 6-story building. So I believe he said 6-story. So that is my concern and my my comment. And if there's no other comments to be made, I'd like to see if there's anybody has a motion that they might want to consider or not.
I have one further comment.
Go ahead, Mike.
I do a lot of schools. I do a lot of charter schools. I've done over 41 charter schools. And we just finished one in Dade County, and they made us put in flashers and they made us put in lights. They want to protect the children, which we should protect the children. I don't know how many children there are in this school at the end of Barnett. Does anyone know that answer? Is that a middle school? And
yes,
how many
middle
children?
School.
How many children?
Yes,
go
I
there?
believe there's 850.
Okay. So I see a lot of kids walking over I-95. I mean, when school gets out, it's like a parade there. And I would hate to see the the injury or death of one of those children that cross Barnett heading east because we didn't take precautions on some kind of flasher or signs or something, that the cars turning in there would know they got to slow down and be careful. This is a crosswalk for children. So that's my feelings.
Is there, excuse me, Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is there a posted school zone at that intersection or on that side of 95?
I'm not sure offhand. I don't know if Aaron can provide any insight into
I'm
that.
actually going to turn this over to the applicant. I'm sure the applicant would be willing to enhance any school zone signage as part of a condition of approval at the intersection along with their improvements. They seem to be very amenable to these type of safety conditions. I think additional signage, if warranted, would be a fine condition of approval. But Lisa can speak to the existing signage.
So I will tell you on behalf of the applicant that we would be willing, the county I think has to approve anything on 10th, but we would be willing to agree to a condition to work with staff in the county to provide school crossing signage at appropriate locations.
Could you say that one more time, please?
Sure. And I apologize, I had to switch from my computer to my phone because my Wi-Fi just went out a little bit ago. We would agree to a condition in addition to what staff presented tonight, that we would work with your staff and county staff to install school signage as appropriate in at the location, I guess is what, at 10th and Barnett.
Okay.
Including flashers possibly?
So I don't, if that's what the right signage is with staff in the county, I think that, yes, that would be appropriate if that's appropriate. We would work with the county and staff to come up with what the county would agree to on their roadways or for their roadways. And if flashers were part of that, then yes.
Let me just interject this. There is a school zone flasher on Barnett. The school zone has to be determined before you can just install a flasher, because 10th does not appear to be a part of the school zone area. It doesn't start until you head further north on Barnett where the flasher exists that determines the start of the school zone. So that would have to be discussed prior to the installation or even, of any kind of.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure.
It goes, if the county, I understand that, Lisa, if the
Yes.
county would be willing to work with us on that, we will do it. And we will work with the county and your staff on that.
Lisa, I do know that at A Street and 10th Avenue North, there is school crossing guards and what have you there. So I can't see why the school board would not want to extend that to Barnett and 10th Avenue. But you guys would be willing, or the developer would be willing to do that?
We'd be willing to work with, like I said, with your staff and with the county on appropriate signage that they determine, that your staff and the county determine is the right signage at Barnett and 10th.
I don't think anybody would object to that on either side, no matter whether you have kids in school or not. I think that's something that needs to be done. As Mr. Glazer said, he works in schools all the time. So thank you. Okay.
May I ask a question?
You just did.
That one doesn't count. The opposition had made some statements in regards to the side street there being deficient in its ability to handle existing traffic. Is there, or has this been, or potentially could this be a part of any kind of improvement plan for that street in particular to expand it, increase the capacity? Does the city know of anything that has any kind of plan in order to increase the functionality of, I believe that's what, Barnett, right?
Yes, Barnett.
Maybe
Yes.
Josh can speak to the improvements on the site and how they'll impact that particular intersection.
This isn't
project.
This isn't related to the project specifically, but I just trying to get some reference point of, 7-Eleven or this client shouldn't necessarily be responsible for a 20-some year deficiency on a road that they're adjacent to.
There's no current plan in the works. William, do you have any background? I don't believe there's any current plan to widen the roadway.
Okay, I'm going to interject because I want to keep you guys on the straight and narrow. We have already asked questions. You are at the deliberation standpoint. You're now going back. You're going back and asking questions. If you ask staff, then everybody gets an opportunity to discuss this. I would caution the board to just deliberate amongst yourselves. You've heard a lot of evidence as it relates to this project, and there are a lot of conditions of approval. And I think you should just move forward instead of going backwards and getting back into factual questions.
Thank you once again, Pam. Aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, closing comments, or anybody want to make any kind of motion?
I'll take this. I move to recommend approval of PZB project number 20-005-00003 with staff recommended conditions, as well as the additional condition that the applicant will provide additional safety school area signage as determined between staff and the county. For a major site plan, conditional use and variance to construct vehicle fueling / charging station, single destination retail and restaurant uses at 1900 10th Avenue North. Project meets the applicable criteria based on the data and analysis in the staff report.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other
Chairman,
discussion?
if I may just confirm that motion with Mr. Murata included the 2 staff conditions read into the record in the presentation.
Yes,
Mr. Murata?
Yes, it contains all those conditions. Thank you for clarifying.
And also, can I make another clarification? It said, and you read, I move to recommend approval. What you're moving is you're moving to approve.
Yes, thank you for correcting that. I do recall staff saying at the beginning,
Yes.
that was it. So like a robot, I'm just reading the paper. I'm using that one.
That's okay.
Danny, your second goes along with that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, been clarified. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye, but do you want to do roll call?
Yeah, let's go down the line. I'm sorry. We'll start with you, Anthony, because when you made the motion, you have to vote for it.
Aye.
Sherry, you want to finish that?
Let's start from Anthony.
He said aye.
Aye.
Mark Hum,
Nay.
Laura Starr. Laura, unmute. Try it
Hello,
again.
Laura.
Okay, I got it. Aye.
Michael Glazer
Nay.
and Danny Tanner.
Aye.
Greg Rice. You don't
Aye.
have to. Yeah, okay. Motion carries 4-2.
Thank you, board.
Did
Thank you,
that
staff.
include the variance as well?
Yes, he read it all as one motion.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I just wanted
Yes,
clarification.
variance
Thank you
level.
very much. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Likewise.
Hope Brandon gets out of the doctor's office tonight. Okay. I'm guessing nobody needs to take a quick visit down the hall, so then let's move on. We still got a lot of work to do.
Andrew, if you can start my presentation for me, I'm going to be presenting the next two items related to the LDR changes, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Is it dark up there yet?
No,
Outside?
it's not. It won't be dark till 10 o'clock. So
That is so weird. That is so. I've lived in Florida all my life. When I first started traveling for business, I learned a long time ago, if you want a northern income and a Florida address, you better learn to travel. So when I started traveling for work, I'd go up north in the wintertime, and 10 o'clock at night, it would still be about like it was at 4 o'clock.
for sure, for sure. Go ahead and click on the next slide. I'm ready to go. If you guys are ready to go.
Okay, fasten your seatbelts, guys, and let's go.
All right. The item before you is, this is part of the proposed LDR amendments, round 2020-2. Next slide, please. As you recall, this is an ordinance as part of a series of amendments to address the code updates prioritized by the City Commission at the March 5th, 2020 workshop. The proposed amendments include, in this particular ordinance, include items to Chapter 2, Administration, and the majority of the items are in Chapter 23, our Land Development Regulations. You can see the list of the impacted articles and sections on this slide. I will spare you reading each individual one. And if you can go ahead and go to the next slide, Andrew. So I'm going to go through each part of component of the ordinance. If you feel like you want to stop and have questions about a component, we can do it that way, or you can save your questions to the end, obviously at the discretion of you, Mr. Rice. The first item or section of the ordinance is related to Chapter 2 Administration. We basically, in Lake Worth Beach, we have a adopted fee schedule. This is very typical of most municipalities now. The old way is you put all your fees in all these weird sections in the code, and then everybody forgot about them. So everybody went to an adopted fee schedule with consolidated, which consolidated all the fees into one area, which was reviewed and updated annually by the City Commission. These were some forgotten fees, and this is the general Scrivener's error cleanup in Chapter 2. Next slide. And the next section is related to the official maps section. This is related to the official zoning map and the official future land use map. We are going to go for a full digital experience in Lake Worth Beach. We will adopt GIS layers as our official zoning and future land use map. We will be one of only a handful of cities and local governments in Florida to have done this. We've been partnering with our GIS coordinator to do this. So again, we're keeping Lake Worth innovative and on the cutting edge of technology, and this will allow our maps to be much more interactive. When you look online, you'll be looking at the official zoning layer. Next slide. The next section is related to divisions. Now, one of the major lifts of this ordinance was related to lot coverage, impervious, and permeable surfaces. There was no radical substantive changes in this, but really just a clarification of how the requirements are being already applied and interpreted. And those are those components of the definitions. Again, if you have questions either now or at the end of the presentation, we can go back through any of the
Well, let me ask this, board members, if you do have a question, because this is a rather, we're going to cover quite a bit of real estate here tonight. So after she's done summarizing or commenting on one section, if you have a question, please let me know so she can answer it instead of us having to go back and pull up the right slides and all that. Any questions so far?
And I will add, as we're going through, you can see at the top of each section, I place the reference exhibit. So you can see all of the changes related to the definitions are in Exhibit C. Next
In
slide.
exhibit C, you said C?
Yes, sir.
C's and Charles. Okay, thank you.
So the next section refers to site plan review. This is an Exhibit D. This amendment clarifies the distinction between major and minor site plans, and as well as the process to amend those particular items. So sometimes there is a question, you know, is this big enough to go to a board, or is it small enough that we can keep it in the minor site plan? When does that threshold? We kind of have we have relied on the code, but we wanted to give some additional clarification so it's very clear to the applicants and staff exactly how this will be processed every single time. It just gives us a little more structure. That's an Exhibit D. Next slide. This is an Exhibit E. This is related to, again, the official zoning map. What we do when we prepare an ordinance, the ordinance is an order of the sections. So the first section related to the zoning map, this is doing the same thing, but it just is reflected in a different section of the code, and just for consistency throughout the code. Next slide. This is these items are in Exhibit F. This is related to fences, walls, and gates. And this is the other major component of this particular ordinance, the one with the most pages. This in the pervious surface requirements. And then this will provide additional regulations regarding perimeter fences and materials. And I don't know if you're aware, but we do fencing requirements by use type. Next slide. So we have development standards related to off-street parking. Again, this is part of that pervious impervious discussion or look, and this is clarifies the acceptable materials for off-street parking, and this has to do with the two for one or 50% credit for semi-pervious or pervious paving materials. Next.
Aaron, what was meant by concrete post or whatever for off-street parking?
Concrete, I'm sorry, concrete what?
Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm trying not to belabor the.
So there is a pervious concrete and there is pervious pavement. And so
were they talking curb sites on off-street?
No, they're actually talking about just the paved surfaces. So we have a requirements not only for green space and landscape area, but for actual pervious drainage area. And sometimes on more urban projects, like some of our mixed use projects, they want to meet that requirement by utilizing pervious pavement solutions or semi-pervious materials. And how this works is they get a 50% credit. So if they were to do their entire parking lot in a pervious pavement material, then they would get 50 credit for 50% of the lot as towards their pervious pavement requirement, meeting their requirement.
Thank you.
And that requirement and that credit was there before. This
just
clarifies the materials and how that will be, like what qualifies in that basket. And all that has to go through a building permit review for the standards and specifications. So just gave a little more structure to that.
With each opinion or whatever made by staff, would it be departmentalized, or would it be one person doing it all, or making those decisions? Or
really, what we've done is we've added a standard. So you have to have a greater than 50%. So if you have, basically you have your grass, how much water perks in Florida for your grass, a grass sodded area, right? So if you put it in a pervious surface, we now have a standard in the code that says your pervious pavement material has to perk at a rate of a minimum of 50% of the grass. And that standard, while was applied, was not codified. So now that's codified. So it's very clear. And it can perk more, but if it perks 80%, you still only get the 50% credit. You know, you may need it to perk more because you can't meet the drainage requirements on site. So you may have a different material with a higher percolation rate, but your pervious surface rate for lot coverage purposes would not change more than the 50% credit. And that's not a change in our operations now, that's standard.
Thank you.
Okay. Outdoor storage. So again, this is related to stormwater requirements and materials where outdoor storage can occur. Outdoor storage in our code can only occur in our industrial district. And basically, our NPDES permit and our other regulatory requirements, outdoor storage needs to really be on a paved surface that does not allow water to perk through it at all. Because typically outdoor storage is, you think of old cars or boats being stored. A lot of times this is heavy equipment or things that can't be stored indoors. So these might have oils or chemicals or raw materials that if water were to, rain, if it were to rain on them, it may allow dangerous materials to be absorbed into our aquifer. So this is a standard requirement. We're just codifying it so it's clear to all of our applicants what the minimum standards are. This would be required for any new outdoor storage as well through a building permit process. Next slide. So here you can see this is the policy language related to outdoor storage. And I will note that there is one change. We always considered the IPOC our industrial district. So this just clarifies that this is for the IPOC district where outdoor storage occurs. Next slide. Again, these are environmental, or this is our landscape code. This has to do with dumpster landscaping and non-conforming dumpster conditions. This actually allows the DRO, our development review official, to make some modifications like reduce a parking space for the minimum required parking to allow for the administrative approval of screen dumpsters. Because dumpsters are kind of an issue. They're very attractive. They're nuisance oriented. So this allows staff some flexibility to really address some of those older sites and to make the city just look better overall over time. Next slide. So this concludes my presentation. Staff is recommended approval of this component of the LDRs. And we do have another ordinance that we kind of broke up the ordinances because they were a little heavy together. So this would be a recommendation to the City Commission for this particular item because the City Commission would have 2 readings of this particular ordinance prior to adoption. Thank you.
And Chairman, I just wanted to add that at the Historic Resource Preservation Board meeting of, yes, a week or so ago, they recommended unanimously to move this ordinance forward for approval to the City Commission.
Thank you, William.
I was going to ask that question.
I should have included it.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
Nope.
Suggestions? Did I hear somebody say something?
You heard me say no.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Okay, do we have a motion on what she has discussed thus far?
Yep, I move to recommend to the City Commission to adopt the proposed LDR text amendments included in PZB HRPB project number 20031-00003, ordinance 2020-11.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second on the floor. Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye. Sherry, call roll.
Get myself unmuted. Okay. Anthony Murata.
Aye.
Thank you for the
Mark
motion.
Hom,
Aye.
Laura Starr,
Aye.
Michael Glazer,
Aye.
Danny Tanner. Daniel Tanner. Greg Rice.
Aye.
Okay, can't find Daniel.
Sherry, he's not on the meeting. I don't see his
No,
name.
Daniel is somehow in the attendee section and not as a panelist.
I'm moving him to as a panelist right now. He should be coming up shortly.
Thank you, sir.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
You at the beach.
He's got the sunglasses on.
I love
Kind
it.
of.
Danny,
I'm
are
at
you
the
in Michigan
pool.
right now?
I am in LA.
Oh my God.
I thought it was daytime where you were.
Somebody definitely has it better than me, I have to say.
I don't know. I was in traffic for like an hour and a half of this meeting. That was not very good.
Oh, I hate the
Hey,
traffic.
an hour and a half out there. That's how long it takes to get to a 7-Eleven.
Well, we've been enjoying it up here. We've been blueberry picking with the kids and doing all kinds of things, but the cell service is definitely brutal. So we'll move on quickly.
I picked up some blueberries at Publix the other day. Pretty convenient.
Andrew, if you could share your screen again and we can move on to the next item. It's the same presentation. This is item C. Again, this is part of the same components, but this ordinance is related only to uses. So if you can go to the next slide. Again, this is part of the code updates that were prioritized by the City Commission at the March 5th workshop. This particular ordinance includes modifications or amendments to the definition sections, to the use table, and to the administrative uses and conditional uses section. In addition, these uses are all focused on uses, or these amendments, sorry, not these uses. These amendments are all focused on uses, performance standards for uses, and the permitted use table overhaul. Next slide. Okay, so the first section is really related to provide clarity with regards to the types of uses, the intensity of uses, and some of our new uses. You can see within the body of the ordinance in Exhibit A that there are several new use definitions. The other thing that we did is we kind of went back and we reimagined some of our uses, and we talked about consolidating uses, really. And I think the best example of this is really in our personal services group, which is we've now created this new use called personal grooming services and day spa. Before we had a barbershop use, we had a hair salon use, we had a nail salon use, and they all had the same review processes and the same standards. So this kind of creates this new group. It provides a definition and structure to that. And the same thing was related to the repair and maintenance services uses. We prepared a series of new uses, including repair and maintenance services specialty. And then we kind of had this catch-all use called general, gosh, it just fell out of my head. Our general commercial kind of basket. And what we've done is we've created these additional uses, and we've really streamlined and defined our single destination commercial use. We've really clarified what that means. We've locked it down a little bit, and we've pulled out some other uses that didn't really make sense in that single destination use basket. We also added new uses related to distilleries and breweries. We kind of defined them in a step. We have a brewery and distillery specialty, a brewery and distillery micro, and then a brewery distillery, which is an industrial use. We created other new uses like money business services, which is defined in the statute. And we also created the new use of storage specialty. Next slide. Then we amended our use tables. We looked at all of our review processes. We clarified levels of review. We clarified some language on the use table to really be instructive on how the use table should be used and applied, kind of getting us out of that vet clinic conundrum that we were in. So we've worked all of that out. That's all super clear now. And we've also deleted redundant and unnecessary uses. This is a typical cleanup process that most local governments go through every decade. Uses just get old. Next slide. So here is an example of what the table looks like. You can see that we've changed kind of the category headings. You can see that medium intensity uses are uses that are less than 7,500 square feet and or have medium intensity impact or medium intensity impact uses. We've designed what use impacts are, and you can see the strike through means removing and the underline means adding. Next slide. We've identified several columns in the use table for deletion. The first column is our plan development column. And the reason why we're proposing it for deletion as part of this amendment packet is the way plan developments work in Lake Worth Beach is that the underlying zoning district fundamentally guides the permitted uses in the plan development. And you saw this in the Bohemian, and you'll see this again with these other mixed use larger projects coming forward. So what was confusing is that there were these letters in the table, and it seemed like all these other uses were not allowed. So it just really wasn't user friendly or helpful. It's best just to go to the plan development text section. Again, this is not a substantive change. This is a formatting change for clarity within the code. And again, for the same thing for the 2 overlays, there is some additional flexibility built into the overlays for certain uses, but they have to be applied in a very unique way with the standards as a whole. So it creates confusion when you see a level of approval or review in the column without the complementary text to go with that use discussion. And so for clarity, we felt it was better just to remove the columns altogether. Next slide. Again, we're in the development review standards, or the development standards, sorry, for administrative uses and conditional uses. We're adding additional performance standards for vehicular and industrial uses, as well as new standards for specialty storage, money business services, breweries, distilleries, microbreweries, micro distilleries, and specialty distilleries. Next slide. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them. Again, this is, I believe we got a recommendation of unanimous approval from the HRPB. William can correct me if I misremembered that. I don't have my staff report right handy. And this would be a recommendation to the City Commission to adopt the subject draft ordinance.
The only thing I'll add, Chairman, is that several of the changes that are proposed are facilitating new uses and new investment in the city. A couple of the RFPs that are being floated by the CRA involve proposed investments that require some of the changes that we're proposing. And there's also a proposed micro distillery, a specialty distillery for downtown that is waiting for this approval, as well as a microbrewery near our TOD location. And there's a couple of uses that are proposed on Dixie Highway that are also awaiting the permitted use table changes. So there are quite a number of properties involved that hopefully will receive a significant amount of financial investment once these changes go into effect.
Aaron, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When we were breaking down, excuse me, the restrictions or what have you, especially for the breweries, and we were talking about delivery trucks making only so many deliveries or whatever in I guess a week period of time or whatever. How were those formulas come about? Calculated based on what the city said they would allow as far as the output of product?
I'm going to let William address that. He did a ton of research related to this particular item and looked at other codes. I looked at other codes to help him. There was a lot of research that went into this particular item.
I noticed I saw him going in and out of a lot of bars, so I guess he was doing some.
Yes, and I don't drink beer, and I don't drink much distilled spirits. Anyway, most of it was based on what type of impact would the use have where it's being proposed. And so the performance standards are more stringent when it comes to a specialty distillery or brewery, because that's likely to be located in the downtown core. And then they are relaxed as you move into a more industrial nature, all the way up to a distillery or a brewery, which would be in the industrial district. In speaking to proprietors who are proposing the uses, they felt they could easily perform within the requirements that were given. We looked at the actual overall annual production capacity, how many deliveries would we take to provide the raw materials, and then how many deliveries might be necessitated for the delivery of the product itself. And those were that's where we came up with those performance standards to hopefully have at least a nuisance-based impact on the downtown businesses that are already there if a specialty brewery or specialty distillery were to open. And then as you move to the other ones, they're more likely to happen on Dixie Highway in an artisanal industrial district in our TOD. And then the most intense ones will happen in the IPOC.
Did you talk to Dave Matthews at all?
We've spent time talking to Dave Matthews when he came in originally, and his production actually is not, it's not that close. It's actually far less than what the overall microbrewery would allow. It does allow him some space to, some ability to expand. He'd probably have to get a different building to expand much more than what he already has. But we took him into consideration, as well as 2 other microbrewery interests that are hopeful to invest and open a microbrewery in the city.
Well, I'm asking that question only because I know in a lot of businesses, and you know this already. I'm sure that you got to have a certain amount of square footage, and you got to have a certain amount of traffic, depending on what if you're wholesale or you're retail or whatever, and a lot of variables and stuff. And if these square footages are too tight or maybe too lax or too loose, it's not going to be profitable. So that was my concern. That was my big concern.
And the state alcohol beverage board, I forgot what it's actually called, has a definition that we followed as to what quantifies a microbrewery and what we utilize that. And then a specialty brewery or a special distillery is exactly 1/2 of the overall production allowed of a microbrewery or a micro distillery. Right. So we're following the state standard as well.
And you pick that 1/2 figure how?
Based on discussions with those who wanted to open up downtown, the size of the available buildings, and the overall impact again on the existing businesses that are downtown. A full-fledged microbrewery is a rather very large enterprise and is not necessarily totally geared to the overall ambiance and character and experience that we're trying to advocate for the historic downtown.
And the product produced, it doesn't matter whether it's beer or spirits, correct?
Well, there's 2 different, the spirits will be done under a specialty distillery if it's downtown, and then a beer or ale will be done under a microbrewery. There are some weird, and I don't think the state allows yet the mixture of the 2 in the same location. Okay. So they have to one or the other, and we have written our rules in anticipation that there will be consumption on premises allowed at distilleries, micro distilleries, and specialty. Right now, you can only taste on premises, and you have to consume off premises. But we do anticipate in the near future the state opening that up and allowing at a distillery or the other versions that we have to have consumption on premises, and it would be a bar.
Well, if you go to a convenience store west of Dixie on Lake Lucerne, you can go in there and buy you a 6-pack of beer or a bottle of wine, walk out the door, even though you're not consuming it right on site, walk across the street and park yourself on a bench somewhere and have at it. So it's not much difference.
Just for the record, that we do not allow open container consumption in Lake Forest Beach. If people are doing it, they can be cited by PBSO.
Great. Well, thank you, Wayne. And Aaron, thank you.
I got kicked off, so I hope I didn't miss much, but I'm back.
Just Greg describing his evening.
Yeah. I guess it's better to be kicked off than ticked off.
Yeah.
All right, motion time here.
Please.
Can I say one thing first?
Absolutely.
You just did.
Or can I say another thing? I did too, right? You got me.
Yeah.
The planners have conquered everything. I mean, it used to be, and I'm dating myself, that you could go into City Hall and say, I want to open up this, and you'd walk out with a permit. I was looking at
Mike, I know you're old, but you ain't that old.
I looked at the application for 7-Eleven and I'm like, oh my God, they must have spent a bucket load of money with the attorneys and planners, and I mean, and traffic engineers, and oh my God, I mean, how about the common person that says, okay, I want to open up a brewery or whatever? William, it's just pretty complicated nowadays. It is. Did we lose William?
Well, I'm still here.
Okay. It's
He's trying to figure out if that was a compliment or if that was a slap on the back of the head. Slap on the back of the head.
all right, and I understand everything. So, Anthony, you made a motion, right?
My motion was motion time.
Yes.
So with that, I will.
All right.
I move to recommend to the City Commission to adopt the proposed LDR text amendments included in PZB HRPB project number 20-004-00003, ordinance 2020-12.
Second your
We
motion.
have a motion. Do we have a second? Anywhere up and down the line?
I did.
Okay, sorry, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Sherry, wake up.
I'm here. Let's try it again.
How are you gonna vote then? Yes or no?
Video. Anthony, yes.
Aye.
Mark Hum,
Aye.
Laura Starr,
Aye.
Michael Glazer,
Aye.
Danny Tanner,
Aye.
Greg Rice.
Aye.
Thank you, board.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, board or Lord?
Both.
Both.
Okie dokie now. My one computer keeps going to sleep on me here. Hold on.
I think you're on planning issues now.
I think we are too. And what are those issues?
I'll let Aaron, well, just as an update for the ordinance you're talking about tonight, it will go to the City Commission on July 28th with a second reading, I believe, probably either the first or second meeting in August. And then be prepared for several applications coming in. I think all of them require conditional use. You will be very busy in the fall with or without COVID.
Well, good. I'm glad to see
We
things
also,
are progressing. Layla, you gotta excuse my watchdog. Just went on.
and Pamela can correct me, but I do anticipate that we're going to still continue with Zoom meetings through the end of August. And we'll see what happens in Florida before then.
See what the governor does.
Yes.
Thank you.
Aaron, did you have any planning issues?
I don't. Just everybody have a great rest of July, and we have our as William said, our July meeting coming up with commission to consider these ordinances. And William, we're still planning to see you mentioned the first week in August to go back to the typical schedule we're planning on at this time.
Yes.
Don't forget about announcing that Brock Grill resigned.
That was not announced yet. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Who was supposed to make that announcement?
I'm making it now.
You just did. Yes, you did.
He's moving. He thinks he's moving. So,
Moving.
yes, out of the state of Florida altogether.
Oh.
Well, good luck to good luck to Brock.
Yeah, he's excited.
Good for him. And good luck, Brock. Thanks for your service on this board.
Yay.
You've left your fingerprints now in this city. Give you something to brag about down the road. Back when I was there. And Pam, I want to thank you once again for keeping us out of trouble tonight.
My pleasure.
Some nights are harder than others, I'm sure.
What's that?
I said some nights are harder than others.
Yeah.
I'm sure you liked it better when you, if somebody did something or said something and you could just out of the corner of your eye give somebody else that look like, don't you say the same thing now.
I miss that.
Yes, I know you do. I know you. You can tell. One of the differences between you and our Mayor Pam is you've had kids. She hasn't had kids. And it shows sometimes.
Oh God, that's funny. Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Any other board members like to chime in and say something? Mike, I'm glad. Are you down here still?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, good. You
Chairman, there are a couple more items that staff needs to cover. As you recall, you did make a recommendation on a comp plan change. We've heard back from the state and they have no issue, so that will be scheduled on the 28th of July as well. The two ordinances related to bringing forward the entitlement completion for the Bohemian project. Also, you may receive an invitation from Affiliated Development. They are having a topping out party at some point. How they're going to do that and do social distancing, I don't know. But you might get a little notice. Maybe they'll do it virtually. But their
is that for the mid? Is that for the mid?
That's for the mid. Their last building was structurally completed, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Let me tell you what, they're moving on.
Looks good too. The mid looks good.
I was impressed with them. Was that tilt wall or was that block?
That's actually called tunnel form construction. It's neither one.
Well, they've done a great job so far. I'm telling you what. Okay, Sherry, anything that you want to pass on to us? I want to thank you once again.
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you all.
For hitting the mute button at the right time. We appreciate that. I have nothing else to say except thank you guys for a great job. And like I mentioned, it's always nice to have close votes. So, but we will see you next month. What's the date of?
When is the next one?
Are we back to this? Are we back to the?
August 5th.
Okay, the first Wednesday, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We'll see everybody on August 5th. Sherry will send out a meeting notice, I'm sure, far in advance of that.
I will remind you because I may be the first one to forget.
Well, send it out tomorrow then, so you don't. Okay, guys. Well, thanks once again, and I will call this the July 15th meeting of the Planning Zoning Board adjourned at 8:53 in the evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Or the afternoon.
Thank you all.
Or the afternoon.
Thank you.
Where,
Stay safe out there, everybody.
or the afternoon where
Thank you.
Aaron and Brock, Aaron and Danny are. It's still afternoon for them. Sun's still shining. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Stop video. How do I?